Hi everyone, I'm Georgina, and today I'm going to introduce all of you into the a little bit crazy world of dancers. I work with dancers both in clinic. I work at Podiatry part of the time and deal with dancers and lots of different types of patients, and then I have my own dance business where I work with all different types of dancers, so ballet dancers, Highland dancers, Irish dancers, contemporary dancers, hip-hop dancers. When I started in podiatry, I got some amazing advice from a sports physician, the incredible Deb Robinson, who used to be the doctor for the Crusaders. And she said to me, always make sure that you never fully specialise when you work in medicine. Always make sure you have normal humans that you deal with as well. Otherwise, your specialisation will become your normal. And especially in the dance world, there is nothing normal about dancers. So it's really good to have a mix of your specialisation and then normal humans. So, I'm Georgina. I have been a podiatrist specialising with dancers, and when I say dancers, I mean all artistic athletes. So I've got some really amazing synchronised swimmers, some awesome skaters and gymnasts and cheerleaders, so just all of those artistic athletes, and I've been working with them for over 10 years. I work with them here in Christchurch and then with the power of Zoom throughout New Zealand and then internationally. I've also been in the dance world for 38 years. I started as a teeny tiny baby dancer, again here in Christchurch when I was 5. And over the years, I've been in and out of the dance world. I don't know how many dancers we have in the audience. Yay, woo! But it definitely sucks you back in. You try and escape and it just pulls you back in. So now at the age of 43, I am doing all of my Highland dance exams. Hey, Highland, woo! Yay, the Scottish. And it's been a journey for my legs, but so much fun. So yes, if you ever get to be a dancer, then it just pulls you back in whether you like it or not. And then, of course, we have Hank. Hank, the beautiful, talented international foot star. Hank does all my social media for me. He is the only person you can ever trust on Instagram or Facebook. He gives the best advice, and he also has the best outfits. So today Hank has a handmade, customised ankle warmer that he made me knit for him. But Hank comes with me to all my presentations to help describe what your feet actually look like under your skin, and also to describe range of motion. So Hank is available for photos afterwards. So probably, like many people, you would have gone to a dance show and seen the crazy athleticism of dancers moving around, being super bendy, arms and legs all over the place, and thought, how do they do that? And the truth is they're all insane and aliens, actually. And the reason I say that is because the expectation of the range of motion in joints for dancers is not normal. There are 3 pairs of joints for dancers where they need greater range of motion than a normal human. And those joints we're going to go through tonight, and those joints you guys are going to go through tonight and see what you have available. So when I talk about joints, a joint is where 2 bones meet and we get range of motion. You can get within normal limits range of motion. So for example, my elbow here can bend all the way up and to straight. If I had restricted range, it might go from all the way up to just here. And if I had hypermobile, so hyper means more than, it would go from all the way through. When you see people who have extended elbows, that's hyper range of motion. So dancers are expected to have hypermobile joints in their hips, in their ankles, and then in the ball of the foot. And we're going to go through those 3 joints today and see what you guys have and if we can sign all you guys up to be dancers. So, the first joint is the hip joint. The hip joint is down here. A lot of people, when you say put your hands on your hips, they actually put it on the pelvic bone or up by the waist, but it's actually down here. It's a ball and socket joint. So you've got the socket from the hip, from the pelvis, and then you've got the femur bone making the ball. That joint faces forwards, yeah? It doesn't face sideways, it faces forwards. So any range of motion we have is dictated by the shape of the joint. Obviously, you've got the ball, but also you've got the socket. And the socket has an edge. And when you reach that edge, you can't go any further. For regular humanity, the range of motion of our turnout available in each hip is 45 degrees. I have my trusty goniometer, and so when you're looking at the hip joint, 45 degrees is that much. So if you took anyone off the street and measured external rotation of the hips, they would easily be able to do 45 degrees. Dancers are expected to do 60 degrees at least. We've all seen ballet dancers where they look like they're standing at completely flat turnout. At least 60 degrees, or about 70% of that, is coming from the hips. And then if they're super naughty, they will turn out quite a lot with their knees, and then unfortunately they'll turn out with their feet. One thing baby dancers tend to do is what I call the turnout shuffle, where they turn out with their feet, and instead of using their butt or using their thighs, they just walk back and turn out. That's bad. They're turning out with the wrong joints. They should be turning out with their hips. So dancers are expected to have at least 60 degrees in the hip joint. Some dancers are lucky. They have hypermobile range so they can get that. Other dancers need to work on it. Now, the problem is that you can't work on it very well by stretching, because stretching is generally passive. You need to work on it by strengthening, especially your butt muscles. So there are three main muscles, gluteus maximus, medius and minimus. They're the butt muscles you can actually see. They're the ones you don't want to turn on. So everyone stand up and hands on your booty. Or if you want to make a new friend tonight, hands on your neighbour's booty. What you want to do is you want to stand with your hands on your butt and your feet nice and parallel. You want to take one foot, just have it nice and floppy in front of you, and then without feeling any muscle activation in the butt, you want to try and turn out your leg from your hip joint. Yep. The turnout muscles are actually under those main gluteal muscles. And so you want to make sure no activation is happening that you can feel in your butt, and you're able to turn out that leg. Once you've turned out that leg, just put him flat on the ground and he's in a nice turned out position. Now, keep those turnout muscles turned on without clenching your butt muscles, and stand on the other leg. Now you want to turn out that leg using the same method and put him down. That is your natural turnout. Yep. So if anyone has more than 45 degrees, closer to 60, let me know and I'll sign you up for Highland dancing. It's quite interesting. You can, thanks guys, yay, good work. You can obviously improve your turnout. You can improve it with strengthening, you can improve it with mobilization, but also you just have your God-given body. So sometimes in the dance world, it can be seen as quite restrictive, because if you don't have the requirement for perfect turnout, perfect hips, perfect ankle, perfect demi-point, then you're quite limited within the dance world. Luckily, we live in a time where that is changing, which is awesome. But I think the more people who get into dance and the more body types that end up as dancers, the more that those different body types will be seen as normal, and then the more people feel that they can be a dancer. But now you know how to get perfect turnout, so you can all practice hands on butt and turning out your legs. The next two joints that require more range of motion than regular are your ankles and the ball of the foot. So this is Hank's time to shine. Hey, Hank. Okay, so your ankle range of motion. So the ankle joint goes forward and back, or dorsiflexors and plantarflexors. With normal range of motion, we start from a standing position where ankle to foot is about 90 degrees. In normal everyday life, an average person would be able from 90 degrees to point probably about another 70 degrees. Yep, happily skip and frolic through life with an extra 70 degrees. A dancer needs to be another 90. Yeah, this isn't just ballet dancers who want to dance on point. This is Highland dancers who want to have a nice high ball position for their fling or their sword dance. This is Irish dancers. This is contemporary dancers. I think the only type of dancers who get a free ride in the ankles are hip hop dancers, but they have knee and back injuries more. So, you know, that's their focus. But we need to have 90 degrees from 90 in the ankle, so 180. So I will demonstrate. So when you are looking at your ankle range of motion, you want to have a nice flat surface like this table. And what you want to do is you want to start with your foot in a flexed position. You want to roll through to a demi-point position, making sure front of hip joint, top of knee, middle of ankle, and second toe is in alignment, because if there's one thing dancers need to have, it's perfect alignment. And then you point. And what you want to do is you want to take your measure from the medial malleolus, which is the inside ankle bone, up your tibia, and then to the ball of your foot. And you want 180 degrees. Now, I am hypermobile, so I am about 190. In my old age, by the way. When I was little, I was about 200, which was just hypermobile, but not great if it's not balanced with strength. But at the moment, I am hypermobile, so 190. But you really want a nice straight line, because then when you rise up onto the ball of the foot, you have a nice straight line and it's easier to balance. So everyone stand up. So you can either do this in parallel or you can do this in turnout, now that you all know how to turn out perfectly. And what you want to do is you want to see if you can rise up onto the ball of the foot and you have a perfect alignment from hip to knee to ankle to the second toe with 180 degrees in the ankle. Yes, lovely, perfect. I see some very happy faces. Brilliant. This is important for both guys and girls. We need both guys and girls to have 180 in the ankle. Girls, obviously, if they're doing point work and also for good technique. Guys, because guys can do point work too. I've got a couple of guys on point, so if anyone's a taker. But also, if you're lifting a girl up above your head and you don't have good alignment, you're more likely to injure yourself, and we don't need dancers getting injured. So having a good range of motion in the ankle is super important. The other joint that we need is the ball of the foot. Now, poor Hank here has no demi-point range. Poor sausage. Demi-point range is the range of motion at the ball of the foot. This is what your foot looks like, which is just the skeleton. It looks like Hank has really long toes, yeah? These are your metatarsal bones. The best way to get to know your feet is to get to know your hands. So similar, and many of the same names. So in your feet, these long bones, which are inside your feet, are called your metatarsals. In your hands, they're called your metacarpals. In your big toe, you have only 2 bones and 1 joint. In your thumb, same thing. In your toes, you have 3 bones in each toe with 2 joints. And in your fingers, the same thing. So if you ever want to know what's happening with your feet or the ability you have in your feet, playing the piano, painting a picture, it's similar to your hands. With ball of foot range of motion, we take it from the metatarsal to the big toe. And A normal, average, everyday person can rise up onto the ball of their foot anywhere between 40 degrees and 80 degrees for normal ambulation, so for normal walking. So you can have 40 degrees range of motion in the big toe, up to 80 degrees range of motion in the big toe, and anywhere within that you will be able to walk normally without compensating your gait at knee, hip, back, etc. Again, not good enough for dancers, we need 90. So when you're looking at a dancer, you need to have 90 degrees demi-point. Part of that is the aesthetic look. It's much nicer to look at a foot that is at right angles, so a foot where you are pointing and then can go to demi-point, and you have this nice angle, 90 degrees, but also again for balance and for technique. If you have less than 90 degrees at your demi-point, then when you rise up onto the ball of the foot, you're going to sickle, which means that instead of rising up naturally, you're going to go to the side. While that's dangerous enough in these flat ballet shoes, it's even worse on point because you've got a tiny little platform that you stand on. If you're going to the side, on a point shoe, you are more likely to rupture all your ankle ligaments. So making sure that you have a really nice 90-degree demi-point is super important. Everyone stand up. Awesome. So 1 foot at a time. You don't need to rise up this time. All I want you to do is do a really slow pony trot. Take 1 foot to 90 degrees. Can you keep that alignment, front of hip, front of knee, front of ankle to the second toe, and get fully up to that 90 degrees? Or are you pulled back a little bit, or are you going sideways? We might have some more dancers we're going to sign up tonight. Awesome. So again, part of it is just your natural ability, and part of it is, training. So part of the training is also superhuman. A lot of dancers start training at or before school age. So it's very common to get your child into dance class at the age of 3 or 4. Especially in Christchurch, we have 7 pre-professional schools in the city. And pre-professional means like training for a professional career in dance. So we have probably 12 really good big ballet schools in Christchurch, which is good for our city size, but 7 of them are professional. They don't have 7 pre-professional schools in Wellington or Auckland. We have a lot of pre-professional schools in the city, and the dancers are dancing up to 30, 34 hours a week. Now, when the recommendation is no more than hours for age, and you get a 14-year-old doing 30 hours of dance a week, that's where a lot of injuries come. But yeah, dancers start before school age. They may start at 3 or 4. They then are dancing easily 15 to 30 hours a week by their early teens, and they can become a full professional in their late teens. So it's an intense lifestyle and intense training. Obviously, my main focus with my dancers is on strength, because in the modern day, we live in a society where it's all about over-flexibility and hypermobility, but if you don't have the strength, then you're not going to be able to balance that. The other thing I really focus on with my dancers is those really crazy concepts of eating and sleeping, because dancers and teenagers tend to be so focused that they forget the basics, but the boring basics really work for dancers. So yes, dancers have this crazy range of motion, but they also have crazy training. So when you next see a dancer, they are not normal, and that is okay. They have intense training. This wonderful woman with her bozo ball, doing stretches and strength training is the normal for a lot of dancers, both here in Christchurch and also internationally. The flexibility is intense, but also the strength training is intense. And they also have intense focus. So they're dancing 30 hours a week. They're absolutely focused on what they're doing, and yeah, it's incredible. So I feel very lucky to work with dancers and to look after them, and when they're broken, to give them cuddles. But yes, that's why, as I said at the beginning, Deb Robinson was so true in what she said about dealing with regular people, because this is definitely outside of the realms of normal, but I'm just very lucky to be able to work with it every day. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Any questions?
When the dancers retire, what are their feet like most commonly afterwards, and how do they, get back to like normal life when they've stopped doing that?
Yeah, so a lot of my work is on pre-point assessments. So dancing on point is not normal, super dangerous, completely mental, like why do we even do it? And so I work with a system, the U on point system, where we test strength, flexibility, we look at hormones, we look at growth and development, we look at periods, we look at all of that, and then we fit dancers in point shoes properly. So as we're humans and we stand, we have 3 points of support. Under the heel, under the ball of the foot, first and fifth. So 3 points of support. When we rise up onto demi-point, we still have 3 points of support. They've moved forward. When we're up on point, we should still have the 3 points of support. They should just be moved into the shoe. The point shoe should provide the 3 points of support. The problem is that traditionally, you shove your feet in a point shoe, you're expected to put all your body weight on your toes, and they just munch them. And so dancers then end up in their mid to late 20s, because remember they're professional at 16, they end up in their mid to late 20s just with these arthritic, munched feet. And that's when they realise, the problems. A lot of my work that I'm trying to do is getting dancers on point but keeping their feet healthy. So making sure that they're doing their strength work, making sure they have the range of motion, making sure that when they're fitted in a point shoe, the point shoe holds them at the ball of the foot, because then your weight is transferred into the shoe and into the ground. Whereas if you're just shoving all your weight into the toes, which we're not made to do, then that's going to cause problems. Interestingly, my Irish dancers are worse, because Irish hard shoes have no mid-foot support. So a lot of my Irish dancers, when they reach their late teens, they already have quite curled toes. And so I'm doing a lot of work with them about preventative work. So strapping your toes, strengthening your toes. We've got 4 layers of muscles under our feet, and we just ignore them until they're sore. And then we're like, why are you sore? So getting my dancers to preempt problems by strapping their feet, strengthening their feet, taking their feet out for coffee and apologising. All of those things are super important. But yeah, when dancers stop dancing, it's kind of this reality shock, because they realise that there is the whole world out there and they've spent their whole lives dancing and they kind of don't really know how to relate to that. And then they have potentially lifelong problems with footwear. So obviously if you've got curled toes, you need a deeper shoe to accommodate that. And yeah, it can be a problem for dancers. So I'm trying to get them when they're babies, so that when they're older, they don't regret what they've done to themselves. Yeah.
So when they're younger and they're going through training, is there any sports or fitnesses or exercises that they can't do to, like, I guess that would inhibit their range of motion, similar to like swimmers, how they're not allowed to do particular like exercises that could once again impact on their range of motion?
For me, no. I think a well-rounded dancer makes a better dancer, but also you're up against the tradition. So I remember when I was a baby and I had started ballet, and my mum got a letter saying that if I wanted to be in the end of year show, I couldn't do Saturday netball. and I was 5. So for me, I want my babies to go to the movies. I want them to hang out with their friends. I want them to have like a chocolate sundae at a restaurant. I want them to play soccer. I want them to go skiing with their family. I want them to do all those things because not only will it build other muscles, which then means if you do get injured as a dancer, you have other muscles to cope with that, but it also means they have better life experience and then they can take that to their art of dance. The only thing I don't recommend, not only for my dancers but for everyone, is skydiving, but that's because clinically I've dealt with a lot of people who've broken everything. So I just don't recommend it. But for me, I want my dancers to live their lives and experience as much as possible and then use that in dance. Stopping them doing things that limit range of motion because it limits or it tightens up their ligaments. So not drinking whiskey is probably a good thing, especially for my teenagers. So taking out all those dehydrating things. So stopping, not drinking alcohol, not drinking fizzy drinks, not smoking, all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, whatever sport they want to do. Competitive knitting, anything. I'm happy.
We have time for one more, if anyone has one.
Thanks for the talk. That was wonderful. If a gentleman were blessed with extraordinary range of motion, at what age would it be too late to begin a career?
Sorry, begin what?
A career in professional dance.
A career in professional dance? I think probably for guys, you guys are luckier. Guys are definitely luckier than girls. I think for guys, you could probably still get away with it in your 20s. With girls, I think, unless... And it's the same with ballet. Like, a lot of guys start ballet in their, 8, 9, 10. I think Mikhail Brishnikov started when he was 11. A lot of the current principal males in the New York City Ballet started when they were maybe early teens. Whereas for girls, if you haven't started by 5, what are you doing with your life? So if you are thinking about that and you want to dance if you want to dance professionally, maybe early 20s, if you want to dance, Christchurch is blessed with so many adult ballet classes and adult ballet schools. I was just at a conference in Australia talking with a gorgeous woman who does international research for dancers, and she was lamenting the fact that as a dance educator who works in Sydney, she wishes she could dance, and to me that's bizarre because just because you're an adult, you just go to class. But I think I counted 8 ballet schools in Christchurch who also do adult classes. But then we have the beautiful goddess, Celia Bosman, who runs Bosman Ballet Flow, who only looks after adults. So as an adult who previously danced or as an adult who's never danced and wants to start dancing, Celia is amazing because you don't have to deal with all these 12-year-olds running around in leotards. It's just you and other adults giving it a go and having a good time. So we are so lucky in Christchurch that we have options for adults, and if you want to have a good time, just go and sign up for a class.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for Georgina.